So, ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor presenting to you tonight. My topic is about how to revolutionize data centers by using two-phase immersion cooling. But I would like to back up a little and talk to you about cooling in general at first. Now look at that. Crispy grilled chicken. It really looks very delicious, right? So if you grill chicken over a flame, it's very easy to create this crispy grilled chicken skin, right? It doesn't matter whether you hold it directly over a flame or over a pan. It's very easy to do that. Now, don't get me wrong. Boiled chicken soup can be also very nice. But why is it that we have, for example, exactly the same flame under the cooking pot, and we can still not create the same crispy chicken skin, even if we boil it for hours? Now, the boiling is actually changing the phase of the water from liquid to gas. So in effect, the boiling is cooling down the very hot flame from over about maybe 2000 degrees Celsius down to 100 degrees Celsius. As we all know, 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling temperature of water. So boiling is actually a very effective cooling methodology, although we use it for cooking. Now this comparison shows you the heat transfer coefficient for different cooling methodologies, right? In the middle you can see, for example, a very tiny red bar, and this represents air cooling with fans. At the bottom you can see a very long yellow bar, and that represents boiling and condensation. So in comparison between air cooling with fans and boiling and condensation, the heat transfer coefficient can be up to 4,000 times higher. And yet, most data centers today are still using very ineffective air cooling. There's literally a very strong wind coming through the data center floor, distributing cold air throughout the entire data center. In a high-density data center, wind speeds can be generated of 56 kilometers per hour. It's almost the same as if you drive in your car, put your hand out, and it's almost pulling back your entire arm. So for most data centers, actually, only about 45% of the data center electricity is being used for running the servers. The same, about 35 to 45% of electricity is being used to cool down the data centers. So you can imagine how inefficient it is, how difficult it is to run a data center in Hong Kong very efficiently. So back in 2012, I started a small company to set up a data center to mine Bitcoins. But very quickly we realized that it was very difficult to run our operation profitably in Hong Kong with a very hot and humid climate. Only by coincidence, we were stumbling over two-phase immersion cooling. And that works by basically immersing your entire electronics into a special fluid, which is not conducting any electricity. This fluid also has a very low boiling point, or for example, only 56 degrees Celsius. So as soon as the chip temperature is at 56 degrees Celsius or higher, the fluid begins to boil, and the boiling action takes away the heat from the chip surface. So similar like the chicken in boiled water, you actually have the chip surface at a temperature very close to the boiling temperature. So because this cooling methodology was so effective, we were able to remove all the bulky heat sinks and fans from the chip surface, and we were able to save so much space. The facility which we have built had an IT capacity of 70 kilowatts. That's about the electricity consumed by 20 average homes, but squeezed into the space of only about 500 square feet. And on top of that, our facility was extremely energy efficient. Only about half a year later, we built our next Bitcoin mine, which was about 500 kilowatt, half a megawatt of total IT capacity. That's about 6% of Hong Kong Stock Exchange's data center. We've built the world's largest immersion cooling data center. And in comparison to air-cooled data centers, we were able to save about 90% of space. That's how it looks inside with boiling condensation. We have won several awards, like for example the Best Green ICT Award, for having built Hong Kong's most energy-efficient data center. We've also won the Data Center Dynamics Award for Future Thinking Design Concepts and the Gold Innovation Award by the Hong Kong government. In 2015, our company has been acquired by the Bitfury Group. With much stronger financial backing, we were able to move much faster than before. Our first project which we have built was a massive 40 megawatt data center in the country of Georgia. We've yet again built the world's largest immersion cooling data center. Now 40 megawatts is about 5 times the IT capacity of Hong Kong Stock Exchange data center. But we're using only a fraction of their floor space. In 2017, we set up yet another record-breaking facility, this time in the country of Azerbaijan. By the end of 2018, we will have completed 120 megawatts of data center. And this kind of capacity, 120 megawatts, is not just breaking immersion cooling data center records, but it's also representing one of the largest data centers worldwide. That had such a significance that even the president of Azerbaijan was attending the opening ceremony for our data center. So what's next? Well, there's a lot of buzz about big data mining, physical simulation, and artificial intelligence, of course, as well, as Mr. Glenn Rogers pointed out in the keynote session. Almost all of these applications require very strong processing power, for example, provided by GPUs. Now, these GPUs can generate a lot of heat, so that you have very bulky heat sinks and fans to cool them down properly. But by using two-phase immersion cooling, we're able to get rid of all of that and have only a very slim profile. So a very complex, high-density data center, air-cooled, with complex airflow management, can be reduced, for example, to only 6 of our two-phase immersion cooling tanks. Oh, sorry. So this is, of course, extremely interesting for locations with very high real estate costs, like, for example, Tokyo, Singapore, and of course, Hong Kong. We're able to reutilize, for example, old factories, warehouses, to transform them into data centers, instead of using huge valuable space to build traditionally air-cooled data centers. But the energy saving aspect is also very interesting. Now, globally, the data center electricity being used for cooling alone is about the same as generated by 10 nuclear power plants. Or worse, for example, in Hong Kong, unfortunately, it's mostly gas, oil, and coal power plants burning a lot of fossil fuels. So when you look at that picture, I think most of you will appreciate how beautiful of a picture that is of Victoria Harbour with clear blue skies, but unfortunately also how rare it is. We have many hazy days. Air pollution has become quite significant nowadays, right? So we really hope that with our two-phase immersion cooling technology that we're able to transform, change the data center industry fundamentally. We would like to also potentially help and support the local data center industry to become more modern. For example, to support into the direction of creating Hong Kong into a future artificial intelligence hub, and maybe even create jobs with that. But I think most importantly for us, it is to hopefully contribute to cleaner air, not only for us, but also for the next generation. Thank you.